True colors, realist we can be. I feel your energy. We don't even need to talk right now, but it's cool right now, just me and you right now. Ain't no need to speak, I feel your energy. Yeah. Cause you a real one, baby, you a real one. I know you a real one. I know you a real one, yeah. Baby, you a real one. I know you a real one. I know you a real one, yeah, yeah. As we slowly getting closer, babe, more and more you become part of my family. One day I might take a bullet for you. Would you do the same? That's the meaning of love. Till infinity we got our back. Song of life's written as a duet. Me and you against the world, my partner. Even through hard times, you know we got us. Cause you a real one, baby, you a real one. I know you a real one. I know you a real one, yeah, yeah. Yeah, you a real one, baby, you a real one. I know you a real one. I know you a real one, yeah, yeah. Was geht ab, Freunde? Mein Name ist Kaso. Ich habe eigentlich nur einen einzigen Wunsch. Und zwar, dass wir heute ein bisschen connecten. Right? Man kann ja erstmal das Eis ein bisschen brechen, okay? Das heißt, ich brauche einmal alle hier, dass ihr nach da schaut, auf eurem Partner auf der Seite. Alle nach da gucken. Wer ist da? Alright, alright, alright. Und auf die linke Seite schauen, wer ist da? Alright, alright, alright. Ich brauche jetzt eure Hilfe, denn alle neben euch, von ganz hinten bis ganz vorne, müssen mit mir schnipsen. Wenn das nicht funktioniert, kann ich nicht singen. Nein, Bock nicht. One, two, ich mach vor, also ne? One, two, keep it going. 2, 3, all the way from the back to the front. Here we go. You a real one, baby, you a real one. I know you a real one. I know you a real one, yeah, yeah. You a real one, baby, you a real one. I know you a real one. I know you a real one, yeah, yeah. You a real one. I know you a real one. I know you a real one, yeah, yeah. You a real one, baby, you a real one. Macht mal, lernt euch selber, ja? Mein Name ist Kaso, K-A-S-O. Falls ihr mehr von meinem Gesang sehen wollt und hören wollt, nachher bin ich nochmal am Start. Ansonsten findet ihr mich gerne mit mehr Gesang, Tanz und Moderation auf Instagram. Mein Instagram lautet kaso.m.
For the microphones, but for the time being, welcome tonight. My name is Joerg Geier. I put this together, and I hope you'll understand what Arts and Nature Social Club is about and what it stands for. at the end of the night. We try to bring together a diverse audience of people, young, old, different disciplines. And the core mission is to sensitize for the arts, for nature and sustainability through the arts. And Kaso is a good example of the diversity of voices that we bring to the stage, and try not only to address issues on a rational level, but on an emotional level as well, involving music, the arts of different kinds. And as such, we organize different salon evenings, we organize supper clubs and other events, and bring together quite a diversity of people. We have a core team of different individuals that are active and contribute to our efforts from different angles. And if they could briefly get up, our members get up, and if you have questions about Arts and Nature Social Club, ask them and get involved in different ways. We always look for volunteers and supporters that in different ways bring the efforts to the table. As you can imagine, it takes a bit of effort to put together these events and a bit of planning. What else? So tonight the title of the event is Images Shaping the Future, Films and Education as Keys to Change. And my intent with the event was really to use film and education as ways to create new future narratives, because I feel, especially in this day and age, we are surrounded by negative stories all the time. And I think in order to be able to envision a new world, what it can be like, I think we really need to create new narratives. And Johanna Jaurich, a young filmmaker located in Leipzig, Dresden, sorry. She is the co-director of the film Story of a New World, and I think the title speaks for itself. You will see more and learn more about the film and also the action campaign that they put together in order to get people involved in the positive stories, create communities, etc. So she will show some excerpts from the film and then also talk about the action campaign. And the other speaker, Christian Rebernik, who is based in Berlin, he's the co-founder of and CEO of Tomorrow University, and he will speak about how they were founded during the pandemic, their intention to create a purpose-driven story in education focused on sustainability and digitalization, amongst other topics. And then we will have a brief Q&A session, involve the audience, have some networking exercises for you to get to know each other and also talk to individuals that don't know each other yet. And I think now we get started with Johanna, that will say a few words about the film, then Christian, and then we'll have a Q&A session and a discussion on the topic of the evening. So thanks very much for being here, and if you have any questions about Arts and Nature Social Club, there's business cards on your seats with a QR code, so if you want to learn more about membership, that's how we cover our base costs and our overheads. Become a member, talk to our members, and learn more about Arts and Nature Social Club. So, Johanna.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. I'm so glad to see you all. Joerg said there's not so many invitations, and now the room is full. So I'm very happy that everybody joined tonight, and super curious to get to know you. And I thought about images shaping the future, and the headline From Doom to Gloom came to my mind, because this is really what drives my passion and what I love to talk about and also work in the field of filmmaking. So let me give you a very short introduction. I'm Johanna. I'm a documentary filmmaker for sustainable and ecological projects since 8 years now. And since a couple of years, I'm working on a big cinema documentary or docu-fiction, I'll come to that later, which is called The Story of a New World. And I'm going to give you an exclusive deep dive into this tonight, so not a lot of people have seen this yet. I'm working on a company called Fechner Media. They are in the market for 35 years, producing sustainable documentaries all over, with like 15 million viewers, so quite a lot of people that we were able to reach already. But we still had the feeling that there is more potential. So this is how we came to The Story of a New World. But first, let's take a bigger look at what stories we are telling ourselves. Because as Joerg has already mentioned, there's a lot of negative headlines around here. And I brought 2 of them to see which one is resonating with you more. So the first one is trees and land absorbed almost no CO2 last year. Is nature's carbon sink failing? Ouch. And the second one is Denmark will plant 1 billion trees and convert 10% of farmland into forest. Just recently came out. So which one of those gives you more courage, and which one gives you the feeling that you're able to contribute to something? Raise your hand if it's number 1. Not even one person, okay, that's quite a clear sign. Raise your hand if it's number 2. Okay, that's the majority. Research, we get back to this one. So I brought 3 facts for you today to kind of underline what we're talking about here, right? And why films can be indeed quite an important tool for social change. So since the 1970s, research has shown that the brain reacts more strongly on negative events than positive ones. We can experience it daily in our lives, I guess. This is called the negativity bias. We just focus more on the bad stuff. And as you can see in the United States, but also in right-wing movements across Germany and Europe, is that fear is the dominant narrative. We are so much in fear that we cannot really think creatively and in solutions. So fear paralyzes us, right? Fear does not enable us to think about windows of opportunities and to find creative solutions. Instead, we all know it, it's the freeze, fight, or run away response. I brought a quote that I love a lot. It's from the Slovenian philosopher, psychoanalyst, and scientist Slavoj Žižek, who said, "It is easier to imagine an end to the world than an end to capitalism." And actually, it couldn't be any more accurate than these days, as sad as it is, right? However, we're not here to talk about the negative stuff. I'm here to talk about providing solutions and the positive stories. So there is an effective antidote to all of this. And to give you, I studied media science before I became a filmmaker, so I'm very sorry, but I brought 3 facts for you. I find them very interesting. I hope you do too. If not, let me know afterwards. So, despite the awareness and the necessary confrontation with the bad and the destructive, with everything that is going wrong in this world, and there's plenty of it, to be honest, we also need to explore solutions. It's just fundamental to survive. And we are able to tell different stories. So here are the 3 facts to inspire you. Fact number... Oh, I missed one slide, I'm sorry. Fact number 1. A meta-analysis of 106 studies found that the biggest factor for behavioral change is positive social peer pressure. We all know it. We look what the neighbor is doing. We are social beings, right? So we're just guided by our peers and by social norms. We just would like to belong, and we would like to see what everybody else is doing. So if we get the feeling that everybody else is not doing climate action, why should we, right? But the thing is, the more we talk about it, what we're actually doing, and the more it becomes publicly visible, such as in events like this, the faster it will be adapted and implemented, because we check what everybody else is doing and we adapt to it. So this is my how-to tip that I brought. Surround yourself with solution-based stories, and indeed, there are plenty of them. And some of those that I would recommend are even in the room here tonight. So maybe, I can't see you, but maybe Planet Narratives can stand up right now for a second so that everybody knows that they can talk to you later. Woohoo! And I think Carol from Klimafakten is here as well. Woohoo! Over there. I don't think there's someone from The Guardian here, but if so, raise your hand. Fact 2, which is actually quite interesting, in my opinion. A new scientific study has shown that the overwhelming majority of people want their governments to take more climate action, but they do not realize that they're part of the majority. So what happens? Nobody talks about it because everybody thinks they're the minority group and nobody cares except for them. So we in this room, we do care, and we are the majority. It's 86% actually. Let's become more visible and louder, and please don't just have this evening, but talk about this evening after this evening as well, right? And just get in touch with everybody in your work field, but also in your private life. It is so important we get the feeling that we're part of the majority. So I brought a how-to tip because I want to make it as vivid as possible and not just give you like a deep dive into filmmaking, which is kind of nerdy as well. Start a conversation with your neighborhood or join an existing initiative because you are not alone with your feelings, with your wishes, and with your needs. And I come to that point later, but indeed it's very important that we start feeling again what's happening, not just thinking about what's happening. So I brought 2 initiatives that I just love to get inspiration from, to find projects in your local surroundings. All right. Everything, all the good things are 3, there's a saying in German. So we should not only focus on what we could lose, but also on what we could gain. Because there is a very strong power in this. And actually, we do live in a crisis, in my opinion, in a crisis of connectedness, right? We live in big cities, such as Berlin, as lovely as it is. It's a huge city, and we're not really very connected to a lot of things here. We live far from natural rhythms, except for the spring that everybody can feel right now, but not in general, right? We're eating food that comes in plastic bags from the other side of the world. And we're looking on smartphones for hours on end. I'm guilty for this, without ever feeling really connected to each other, right? So when we are realizing that we are part of a living system and we're living itself, and that the things belong to each other and that they cannot be thought of separately. And if we believe that we have something to contribute and that we're connected to nature and not above it, right? There is a power in this thought and in this feeling that can grow as a tiny little seed. And actually, in my personal opinion, what helps to water the seed is gratitude. To really check in with yourself on a regular basis, what you're grateful for, how you feel connected to your people surrounding you, to the nature. And really, yeah, if there's only one thing you take away with yourselves after this evening, let it be this one. Check in with yourself in which areas are you connected to the nature, to the people around you, to this living, complex, wonderful system. And as far as we know, there's only one planet Earth, right? So be grateful for this. All right, and now the nerdy part of the presentation. I'm a filmmaker, right? And we're working on a very big project because we came to the conclusion after producing documentaries for 35 years that it is mostly a preaching to the choir thing, right? Who is watching sustainable documentaries, especially in cinema? It's mostly the people that already know and care. And as important as it is to give them like a strong foundation and to keep them motivated, at the same time, I feel like there is a much greater potential in films in general, because films are a medium where you can address people in such an emotional way, right? You're really getting into other worlds. It's not by chance called The Story of a New World, because this is really what it's about, to dive deep into imagination of how it could look like instead, and indeed how it is already looking like in lots of parts in this world. We're just focusing too much on the negative. So there are two things that we are doing differently with this project. First is we're changing the narrative. We're not only producing a documentary about solutions for climate crisis, we're intertwining it with a feature plot, with an entertaining feature plot. We are currently in the casting. We found American partners for this. This part will be shot in summer this year. We try at least to make it as big as possible, because we all know how it is. If there's a big name on the poster, you're more likely to go into the film, right? So we give it a try. But then, or maybe before I come to the but then, I give you the exclusive insight. Please don't film right now, because this is nothing that we show publicly. So to give you like an overview, we shot the documentary elements in 8 countries on 3 different continents already, ranging from all the way from agriculture to mobility, to mind shift that is necessary, to renewable energies, of course. And we're currently in the pre-production for the feature film part. So this hasn't been shot yet, which is why usually in like the film industry, you put together something called a sizzle reel. This is the first thing that we're changing. It hasn't been actually done in such a way before, right? So usually there's like docufictions, but it's 2 separate worlds. We combine it within one world. It took a while to come up with this narrative, but we're quite happy right now. And it's currently in the very last polish with an American writer until it is shot in summer, hopefully. The second thing that we are doing differently is the best possible film is not gonna reach its full potential if it's basically like with the majority of films, at the very end you have like a website for further inspiration or to take action, visit this website. Hands up if someone ever has done this. Maybe once, okay? But usually you forget the momentum, right? You get out of the cinema, you miss the bus, or you run into a friend, it's gone, it's gone. So what we are doing is we don't let this happen. After the screenings, and this will happen in 50 countries, we want to come out to cinemas in 50 countries. Previous film has been out in 29, so it's not as crazy as it sounds. After the screenings of the big premiere, we're gonna bring in change makers, local initiatives, sustainable companies directly into the cinema foyer, so that kind of like this, but 10 times bigger or 20 times bigger, people can get in touch with each other. People can see what's actually happening in their neighborhoods and their local communities. And yeah, it is very, or like the aim here is to turn passive viewers into active change makers, right? Because it's in us, we just sometimes need the missing point, or like we don't have the means to research, or we're like so caught up in everyday life that we don't even know what's happening in our neighborhoods and how we could join potentially. And the very important thing here is that we link it to the personal passions of the audience. I'm very happy that Christian from Tomorrow University is going to get more deep into this one, so I just want to mention this here briefly. It is very important that you link it to the things that are closest to your heart, because this is the biggest motivation you can get, right? If you don't care about things, you won't take action for quite long. So some prefer topics such as energy. Others, it's mobility or agriculture or social and gender justice. So we bring all of those, depending on the local initiative, we bring all those in the cinema. So, and at the very end of those impact campaigns, there's always the question of how we imagine the new world. As I said in the beginning, there's such a strong power in imagination, and I not only say this as like a full-time creative person, but really as a human being, as a feeling human being. I think the strongest power we've got is our imagination, but we're using it, maybe not, or we're harnessing it, maybe not in the right way yet. So there's a thing called the utopian charge, and Lorraine already knows it because I've experienced it in a transformation bootcamp that we did together a couple of years ago. And this works like this. So it's your action now. I say how I imagine Berlin in, let's say, 3 years' time, okay? And then the exercise is everybody else brings in their imagination, and you have to start with yes and. So I give you an example. I imagine that in 3 years' time, Berlin will look like this. I will come out of my house, step onto a car-free city. Actually, Paris is doing it, so it's not so utopian anymore. I step onto a car-free city with urban gardening. Yes, and there is free public transport within a 15-minute walk. Who's next?
Well, apple trees are on the streets where we can get and the strawberries grow on the side.
Lovely. Yes, and?
Yes, and there are free drinking fountains everywhere.
Ooh, good one.
Yes, and there's a solar panel on every house.
Ooh.
And children are playing freely out.
What else is happening in Berlin in 3 years? 2028? Yes, and?
Yeah, no homeless people on the streets anymore.
Oh, good point. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and I can reach my local administration within 5 minutes.
Oh, well, maybe not in 3 years, but yeah. Uh-huh. Good one.
Yes, and local government at the very local level has more decision-making power.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So in supermarkets you can buy food that are actually nutritious and not only crap.
I love that.
Yes, and in 4 years' time we have a new government in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and there's space for emotional sharing.
Oh, good one. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and there's a lot of money for cultural projects and funding.
Amen.
Oh.
Yes, and people care about each other.
Okay, maybe 3 more because I already get a sign that the utopian chart is charging too much. Yeah?
Yes, it's going to be normal to be in therapy instead of
Mm-hmm.
away.
Mm-hmm. Guilty here as well? Mm-hmm.
Yes, and more neighbors get to know each other and say hello. They meet each other in the elevator.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Okay, let me finish with this. Yes, and there's many more evenings like this one. Thank you very much.
Many thanks. I think this was a great start with inspiration in line with our claim and more inspiration to follow based on Christian's insights with Tomorrow University. So, Anna? Hello. It's a pleasure, big pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for the invitation, Joerg. It's a big pleasure to see also some friends I haven't seen from a long time and really meet some brilliant minds here and change makers, also looking for a brighter future. I'm Rebernik, and as Joerg mentioned, also I founded a university actually designed for change makers. And that's the reason why I'm very excited to be here. And what I would like to start with, actually, to share a story, how we actually came up with the idea to create a university, because it doesn't happen every day. And when we are here talking about a bright future, I think we're living, and I think what we're living in is in a situation where we see a lot of crises. You know, things are changing with AI really quickly. Everything is quite complex. It's very hard to understand the dynamics, what is happening. Things are ambiguous. What is good, what is bad? We're reading a lot of on social media. But I think also in a crisis, in things of uncertainty, there's also a great chance actually to actually create new innovation and create a better world. And my story starts actually during the Corona pandemic. The Corona pandemic, I think we all faced that one, was a tough one. Yeah? So being at home, locked in, not being able to go out, eventually work from home, like I did, you know, and spend a lot of time using video conferences to engage with others. And this is one thing for me, But then I have 3 kids, and my 3 kids, they have been at home doing homeschooling. And it's one thing you send your kids to school, the problem is gone. The other thing is the kids are actually at home, sitting on the other side of your dinner table, like it happened to me. And I was working at that day, actually on the dinner table, and my son, he was back then 10 years old, he was sitting on the other side, and he had a great lecture from his teacher about the Berlin history. And as you know, Berlin history is very vivid. It's, I think, very important and very interesting. But he had a teacher, he was teaching and talking and talking and talking and talking and talking for pretty much 1 hour. And I was sitting on the other side, and my son was here, and he was like a little bit like this after 10 minutes, and then was going down. And eventually, after 50 minutes, guess what happened? He fell asleep. He fell asleep, and I was thinking, now, sitting on the other side, I was watching this, you know, I was like, oh my God, how can this happen? Yeah, but on the other side, I thought, remembering my old school time, guess what? There have been classes where I felt the same way. I was also in history classes, sometimes in physics. And I was really bored, and I was counting the seconds, you know, until the class was over. And I was wondering, wow, it's still the same way, actually, school, so often. And this was hurting me, because in my life, in the last 20 years, I've worked in many industries. One of them creating a bank with N26, for example, or a digital health record with Vivi. It was always about advancing things, you know, creating a better future for people, better user experiences, helping people to become, having a better impact. And then with such an important part of education, nothing has changed. And I realized this sitting in front of my son. And I said, that's not okay. I want to change this. I really want to change this. But how? How do you change that? And it was this journey and the start, literally, of building a university at the end. And today, we are a university, we are focused actually and have this sole mission to educate and empower the change makers, the next generation of change makers, to create this better future. Because we believe fundamentally that a better future is created by individuals who are educated, who have the skills, who have the community and the network to drive change. And over the time, over the last years, we built a university, skipping here, we built a university which is consisting of more or less 3 parts. We want to actually create a personalized, purposeful learning experience, which is consisting of people. You most and best learn from others and with other people. Then we just focus on the relevant skills. We believe that everybody should know about sustainability. Everybody should know about technology because it makes us better leaders, better change makers. And everybody should learn about entrepreneurship, business, because we can have large impact by understanding also how business works. And we did this online, but it's not just online. We also have a large community now of students in our degree programs from all around the world, which come together, like we are here, either in action hubs in the cities or in immersion weeks. And why we want to, and I would like to tell you a little bit how, when we talk about impact, how can we have impact? And I would like to bring one tool here, which I really like, and it resonates with me because that's how I also started Tomorrow University, which is the circle of influence. It's a quite famous circle. I think it was also shared on TEDx in a very nice conference. And it's consisting of 3 circles. The outer one is the circle of concern. This is the crisis. This is like this is the pandemic. You know, that's the things we're worrying about. This is Trump. This is like the climate crisis. These are all the things which are out there, which we are actually concerned about. Then the middle circle. This is the circle of influence. This is things. So the circle of concern is something we have not under our control. The circle of influence is something we have under our control indirectly because we can talk to other people. We can influence other people. So I can ask my wife to join me, help me to do something. And the inner circle is the ones which I have directly under control. Okay, so and the thing about the circles are they are bigger the more time I spend in any of those. Yeah, so the more time I spend in a circle of concern, I'm worried about the corona pandemic, I'm worried about Trump, the bigger this circle becomes. But this means also the other circles become less, they become smaller. The more time I spend in a circle of control, building up my skills, the more I actually can directly impact. If I know how to create a business model, I can do this myself. If I have a good network, I can ask somebody else to do it for me, and that's the circle of influence, where I can actually ask others. So if you want to have impact, if you want to create a university or any other big projects like an amazing movie, what you need to do are 3 steps. The first one is you need to know what you want to change. We cannot change everything at the same time. Yeah? It's very important that we need to focus. For me, the topic was education. I really felt the pain of my son. I really thought, I want to change education because this is not how I see a bright future happening. Yeah? And then, but to be honest, I worked in all industries. I have no clue about education, and also actually, I'm a university dropout, so it's really the worst. Yeah. So the second thing what you need to do is actually that you expand your control. So what I did in a nutshell is I spent a lot of time learning about learning. How is education working? How is it working in Germany? How is it working in the US? How is it working in Africa? How is it working around the world? And I talked to a lot of people about that, learning and understanding just more about education in my case. And the third part is about people. The way how we can have impact, because nobody of us knows everything. And in a complex world, there's even becoming more things we cannot change, we cannot know. But together, we can know a lot and we can have kind of a large impact. So, and that's the third part was, I was talking to a lot of people. I was asking them, can we do this together? This is the way how I found my co-founder, who is luckily an education expert as well. And together, actually, we built Tomorrow University successful. And these 3 things, 3 simple steps, is how you can actually lead with impact. So for us, the formula, also for our students, every student at Tomorrow University starts with a purpose. Why do you study? What is so important for you? Yeah, this is the same thing about work. Why do you work? Why is this so important to you? Then you develop your competence, learn the relevant skills, and finally, you build a network around you. That's the 3 things how we help every student to have a large impact. And then, together, as a large group, and now we are currently, we have founded 4 years ago, we have 1,000 degree students now, you can have a large impact. So, to end this up, and also handing over now to Joerg in a minute, I would like to make one more exercise to get to know each other here. I would like to ask you to turn to your neighbor, and you can make groups of 2 or 3 people and share what is your purpose, what is your mission, what do you want to achieve. Let's do this exercise 2 minutes, and I ask you afterwards maybe 3 people to share. So please go now. What's your purpose?
Hello. Hendrik from Berlin. And yourself? Laura, nice to meet you. To inspire people for better teams. So I like to train teams, spirit, open atmosphere. Yeah, that's important. And basically, it's that people have a soul connection. So it can be in business, but also in art, or having art things. I think some sort of an existential truth.
was not saying that it was below. I think what I really need to be passionate about is we're only as free as we understand the just allow us. So there's getting a sense of freedom, getting a sense of self-determination. Self-determination is part of it.
How do you do that?
Well, I experiment a lot on myself. No, but I've done it and luckily, touch wood, I've always been doing it, so I kind of have a so it's everything from there is a way to bring more resources to there's how but also how do you system level, and that's so that is now but I want to be more connected to life. Like, for a long time I've been doing that this is a business frame. There's like but I think that
okay, so please find an end.
Maybe we share actually content.
So, thank you very much.
Because I
looked like a very intense conversation. I love that.
It's like an art project. Just
so please wrap up.
You would see.
I love this. I see that we have so many intense conversations here. Very good.
Sounds like
yeah, exactly.
Okay. So let's continue, and let's ask 3 people to share. Who would like to share? What was interesting, maybe from the mission or the purpose of the person you met now? So, who wants to share? Who is willing to share the conversation, the purpose of maybe a neighbor or of yourself? Yeah?
The glimpse of girl. Yeah, where the big in the whale.
So please.
This one.
My name is Elo. I'm a lawyer by profession. I used to be very much into energy law and antitrust law, and I worked for big companies, blue chip companies here in Germany. I was leading the supervisory board office of one, and I was trying to implement sustainability goals also into the agendas of the members of the board, and it was very complicated. And it was a very hard battle. And then I became a mother. I have a son now. Thank you very much. And then through COVID, I really had a change in mind, and I thought I want to do something different with my life. So I quit my job. I started university again. I'm studying landscape architecture and environmental planning, very much with a focus on climate resilience. And I'm writing my bachelor's thesis now about the river Spree and how we can change it and adapt it to the future when the coal mining will cease to exist in the southern parts of Berlin, and how to adapt then the changing river climate to the modern city.
Wow, applause. That's a transformation. Thank you very much for sharing this. Who wants to go next?
And she wants to become a member.
Who's willing? Do we have another person to share? Come on! The purpose? I'm really curious. Yes, here, one more.
Good evening. So since I said I want to speak to neighbors, that's a very great exercise to speak to a nice neighbor here. I'm a combination of both of you. I am in education. I'm very grateful that I've always known my purpose. And I put to empower people and to empower the systems and communities around it. So I've been an education consultant, a teacher, and now also venturing into film as a powerful medium for education. So that's my purpose. That's why I'm in Berlin, to explore more the creative side. But I've been working internationally, bringing education together to everyone. So.
Amazing. Thank you very much.
She
wants to become a member.
Okay, my name is Thorsten, and if you ask me for a mission, I would like to quote a former German chancellor: who has visions, who has missions, should consult a doctor. But that's not the point I want to make. My mission is to bring, or let's say it sounds a little bit big, but to enable the Green Deal by bringing projects and finances together. Yeah, to get these projects out of the corner of believing into the corner of physics and, let's say, finances and capitalism. Because without profit, none of these projects will be realized and can be realized just by subsidies.
Amazing. Thank you very much. So now with this, we're closing. I think we need to hand over to Joerg. So with this, thank you very much. This is how we also now connect, exchange, maybe build on top of each other, help each other. That's how we make an impact. Thank you very much, also now from my side.
Thank you so much. Not really needed anymore, I feel. So if we could just join, if you can just join here, and I like the interactivity that's happening very early on in the discussion, and this is just to get the conversation started and involve you as well. And my first question goes to Johanna, but
Sorry.
and it's really what I picked up on early in your presentation was the fear factor, and also the fact that you've traveled the world to collect good practice cases. What do you think have you learned about defeating the fear factor? How do people in other countries act, especially compared to Germans in Germany, where I feel we're always in a state of fear?
Wow, if this is the first question, I'm curious about the other ones. It's quite a deep one. Well, so I do think fear is a very natural part of being human. And I don't think there will ever be life where we don't have fears, because actually it's part of our emotional range, right? On the other side, oh, you're navigating somewhere. On the other side, I mean, we've researched more than 1,000 projects for the Story of a New World, for the documentary solutions, with an international team for quite a couple of months. And the decision-making process on which ones we take into the film was very hard, as you can imagine. We had quite a lot of workshops until late in the night. And everywhere where we went, finally, we shot 13 projects in total. Not all of them will be in the film, but we shot them. And all the time where we came to the projects, the whole crew and us sat together that night and we're like, you know what? I mean, as a documentary filmmaker, you research something, then you go someplace and it could be totally different, right? Because it's reality. And sometimes you go somewhere and you're like, shit, not really very filmable. But where we went, when we went to the projects, everything was even better than we thought from the research. And the thing here is, and now I try to answer your question in one point, the thing here is the antidote to fear is action. The antidote to fear is not hope. The antidote to fear is not some sort of unrealistic optimism or something like this. The antidote is action. And we experienced lots of people in very different circumstances. We shot in the 8th biggest refugee settlement in Uganda, for example. 8th biggest refugee settlement in the world, but located in Uganda. So with people with like the poorest circumstances you can imagine. But they took action. And they were like one of the strongest people that I met. And they had so much self-respect. I was so amazed by them. And so yeah, this would be my answer. We can't live without fear, but the antidote is taking action.
Thank you. Christian, why do you think is it so hard to disrupt education? I mean, I'm asking that working for a university, a public university myself, a business school at a university, and I see that it's very hard. But you took some important steps and during a difficult time, namely the pandemic. But what do you think how could others follow your example, and maybe the fear factor plays a role as well, but and maybe you can link your answer also to your experience as an entrepreneur in general.
Yeah, that's a very good question. So I was curious about myself and not about doing something in education. I have no clue actually about it and how hard it will be. But why hasn't it changed? It's not just since my childhood, which is now also a long time ago, but it's actually, I think if you ask my parents, it was the same. Most likely, so it hasn't changed for a much longer time. And the thing is, this hurts so much also because like our time has changed. You know, the things like knowledge, yes, it's important, but with the internet, the information is so much more available than if you're thinking about libraries. You know, 100 years ago, it was all about getting access to a library, getting access to the book and the knowledge. But now the knowledge is so much easily accessible, and the tools now with AI, you know, this becomes more powerful by the day. I have the feeling, and so the times are changing, and I think that's the reason why education needs to change. But it's very hard to change education in itself. Because the systems, my co-founder Thomas, he's actually an educator, he's a lecturer, one of the best trained actually in universities, and I think all of us had really great teachers. You know, for sure, if you think back into your school time, who was the best teacher? Maybe it was a math teacher, maybe English, or maybe history, maybe physics, but there have been a couple of them which have been really great, you know. But it was like, typically a handful, like 1, 2, 3, 4 maybe, but not like all of them, and it's really frustrating. And these good teachers were really, really great, really engaged, very committed, you know. They are good, but then imagine they are changing, and something maybe to use happened, that a new teacher came in. Everything is back to normal, to square zero again. So even if you have those role models, changing is changing the class, it's not changing the system. And this is something which he, my co-founder, has seen a lot. You know, he going in, trying to change everything, trying to really connect to the students, helping them, going out, and then his students saying, hey, you're away, it's gone, it's everything back to square zero. And then if you're thinking about the system, and now I'm saying something which is maybe unpopular, everybody of us knows about Facebook. You know, Facebook is really clearly, if you're thinking about who is the customer of Facebook? Customer of Facebook? The user who's using it is one part, but he's not paying. You know, so the advertisers are the ones who are paying to get the product, which is the time of the user, you know, and his attention to selling something. Now, the product. Yes, exactly. And now thinking about schools. Now, if we try to make this with schools, the schools, our school system, who is the user? Who is the customer of the school?
Industry.
In the industry, you can argue, but who's paying the school? So who is the product?
The citizen.
The students are the students are more or less the product. And what the government wants is more or less soldiers or people who can actually work and create, you know, increase our GDP potentially. You know, but it's not designed for actually our time. And I think most of the people know the Maslow pyramid, you know, where you have the bottom, you know, security, food, you need shelter, you need all those basic things. But in Europe, we are quite there now, that we're talking about the self-fulfillment. You know, so it's really, for us, for most of us, it's actually about self-fulfillment. Not for everybody, unfortunately, but for many, you know. And this requires a different school. Because it's more about the purpose, it's about the impact of you. You need to live a life worth living, which you can also enjoy. So I think there's a time now for really driving change, and our customer of our schools, they has no interest in that. So he wants to have still people who are doing the same thing, producing more GDP eventually. And it's a system which is either incentivized by that, or, and that's the other part, especially in higher education where I am, a lot is incentivized by research. Yeah, so where is the funding coming? Again, it's often from governments, but also from other institutions. So we give you research money. So that's the educators now, the teachers. They are incentivized by good research. They're not incentivized by doing good lecturing or really educating the students. So now they also don't have the incentive actually to really help people learn efficient, quickly, create impact. You know, that's where I think the system is not working. It's very hard to change this because the incentive structure of the system is just as it is. And as long as you don't change the incentive structure, I think, it's very hard, even if the best people, they struggle so often in the system to change something. And it's also, to be honest, also true, it's not easy to change education. It's nothing it's not like commerce, which is like tomorrow you can sell something. It's longer lasting impact until you feel the pain. The kids we educate today, you know, they will be our future, but it will take 10, 20 years until they actually have the impact. And that's when we suffer, when the education is too late. Yeah, so I think it's now the time to change education to create a better future.
Thank you. I think you're making some very good points, and systems change being number one, challenging and difficult, but at the same time requiring to think in the long run and not in the short run. And the incentive structures are usually focused so that action happens rather quickly, but not necessarily sustainably.
Yeah, that's also why we said, okay, because we first thought about actually designing software and helping schools. That was the first idea. And we found out it's so hard to change the system, so we need to step outside of the system and trying to create actually a lighthouse project to show it is possible, and then hope to inspire others.
Any reactions to that from your experience?
I can totally agree to out-of-system lighthouse projects, the film projects independent as well, so we know what you're talking about. It's probably comparable to a lot of other industries as well, but there is also a very important power in changing the system from inside out. So when we were shooting with Otto Schama, who you have seen in Caesarea and who's also part of the Club of Rome, which is linked to the Arts and Nature Social Club, there was one thing, he said many great things, but there was one thing that stood out in particular where he said, it's not so much about completely changing your life, right? We're like talking in the wrong narrative here because it's very much about systemic changes that are necessary and not so much about individual action. But the thing here is, in order to live an impactful and create a life, it is very important that you change your daily habits. So one of the things that we're doing daily is working. That is lots of us do and have to. And if you are, I mean, not a lot of people, or not the majority of people, is probably able to completely kind of switch careers such as you did, and props for that, but majority of us has probably had like a long career path and now are doing their job that are trained for. But Otto Schama said, you're still able to maybe change your portfolio in the projects that you're doing at work, right? If you might not be able to change like the full sustainable strategy of your company depending on your position, but you might be able to bring in 1 or 2 more sustainable projects within that portfolio, and there is a huge leverage point, right? So this is my part.
No, I mean, you're making a very good point with path dependencies. We all have that feeling of being trapped in our systems in different ways, and hard to break out also because we have, family, we need to earn a living, and then we have a fear to kind of try something new. And it's all very human, and I've experienced that challenge myself. How can you break out of certain habits and path dependencies. And something else I think is important, and I'm thinking about, and I had that conversation earlier about how do you communicate things in such a way so that it reaches not only your own bubble, but ideally goes beyond. And that's the challenge we are facing here as well. How do we reach people that are not converted yet, that may be skeptical when it comes to sustainability and all this jargon we use, especially in Berlin? Any secret sauce you've discovered?
Think about the majority. We are the majority, just to phrase that again. So yeah, I think it's not so much about converting people, because every one of us knows that something is going in the very wrong direction, right? We're not talking about like the very tiny percent of maybe climate skeptics. Vast majority of people is knowing that something is, we're pretty soon hitting the wall. But least of us know exactly what we could do, right? Or like they feel powerlessness in regard of the politics or like what's going on in the world. And as I said in my presentation, I do really think we have a crisis of connectedness, and this is part of my answer to your question. And I don't have all the answers, right? So please, it's just my opinion. I do think every one of us wants to be heard and understood. And there's always a reason behind why we're taking certain action or we don't take certain action, right? And if we think about the needs that are lying behind this, right? What's the need behind maybe like struggling with, something going wrong, but what can I do, right? Maybe you need not just more information, maybe you need a hand, right? Maybe you need someone who's like, hey, shall we try this tomorrow? Let's go to the Arts and Nature Social Club, let's see what happens, right? So, he's the biggest fan in the room. So yeah, this would be my answer in regard of, I do think we need to talk more about the specific emotional needs as well, right? That because every one of us is, I don't know one single human being that I've met in my life, and I met quite a lot of people. I don't know every single human being that is like, oh yeah, look, the climate crisis, we'll be fine, We'll be fine. Everyone's concerned, right? Some of us are panicking, which is a human reaction. Some of us are beyond the stage of panic, and they already kind of sorted their circle of influence, as you mentioned so amazingly. And others of us, other of us don't even know where to start, right? And so we need to, there's not one size fits all solution to your question. It's really about fundamental human needs, and that there is always a need behind certain actions or inactions.
Christian?
I continue a little bit with this topic of the crisis. I'm very positive about the future. And really, I think that...
Okay, now I meant one.
I'm very positive. I think the future is bright overall. But I'm very aware of the situations we're in. So don't get me wrong, I'm a realist, and I see all the problems in the world. It doesn't matter if we have countries which are ignoring the climate crisis completely, I'm very aware of this. But I also think that this makes the problem just bigger. And as I'm an entrepreneur, I like big problems. Because big problems turn to action. The bigger a problem becomes, actually, the bigger the action will be. And I have seen this in many of the emerging countries as well. It's very hard for us in Europe, in a very comfortable space, because we are all actually, we are lazy, we are comfortable, we don't feel the climate crisis every day. It's very hard for many of us to take real action. And I think the bigger the problem becomes, and it's like if you're in an island and you see that the sea level rises, or if you're from Netherlands, for example, you feel it maybe more. But the more you feel it, the more you will take action. And I think this is why I'm also positive about the future, and very convinced actually that the future is bright, because yes, we have problems, but the human race as such has a history of solving problems. So out of that, I'm really convinced that actually we will be able to solve those problems together.
Any questions in the audience? Maybe Mickey, could you help with the microphone?
Yes. Hi. So I have a bit of a two-part question. I'll do my best to segue. So the first one would be for Johanna. And I was very interested to know that you were doing this blending of genres. And I'm curious whether, I mean, to me what comes to mind is this genre of autofiction in the literary world that's become very popular, that's kind of blending real life with memoir, with fiction. And I'm curious if you have been inspired by other art forms in this kind of blending. And as a bit of a segue then to Christian, to me, the reason I could come up with that question is because I studied the humanities as an undergrad. And I sometimes see new disruptive education programs totally take the humanities out of it, or they just sort of extract certain skills, like they'll say, oh yeah, we want critical thinking or something, but we're not actually engaging with texts or real artifacts of cultural history sometimes. So I'm just curious, yeah, if you could then maybe speak to where the humanities fit within your programming. Okay.
I'm going to start. I love that question, by the way. Yeah, I think creative work always happens within a bigger system of inspiration that you get from any conversation, from any piece you read, from any film you watch, right? So, yeah, there wasn't a particular story, film, book that inspired this, because, as I said, we did research quite a lot if there was a genre like this. And there are docufictions like The Social Dilemma, for example, but it's always like a feature film frame story, but then expert interviews on top of it, not linked to it. And there have been books like The Ministry for Future, for example, that are great reads. And there have been other docufictions like The Big Short that we watched, just to get some inspiration, or like to check if it has been done in such a way before. But we didn't find anything that was exactly like this. So if any one of you know, please let me know, because I would be super curious. So yeah, I think it's always a mix. It's always like, yeah, you just kind of pick your seeds from whatever inspires you, and then in the creative filmmaking process, I think it's very important to bring in your own voice, right? But you're a mix of everything that you experience in your life. And so yeah, I don't know if this like really answers your question. There hasn't been one particular thing. There have been a couple of things we had a look into, and in the end, we don't know if it works, right? I mean, we were seeing the editing room how well it works. We can imagine it right now, and we wrote the script, and it blends very well, and we did the scissory, and it looks all right. But creative processes are trial and error, and big challenges as well, and we're going to race to the challenge if we come across one.
So maybe quickly about the topic of the skills. So we're focusing, I mentioned to you, state emergent technology, but we're focusing more or less on from the World Economic Forum. There's a nice research done actually about the 21st century skills, and what are the skills which are actually relevant. And we are focusing there on, critical thinking as well, communicating info, but it's also like about self-leadership. Everything starts with yourself and better understanding yourself. But also talking about, this is the basis for collaboration, understanding others, building up empathy. So this is all part as of the curriculum officially, but what I think is even more important is that you're not thinking so much in just this discipline and learning this by heart, but you're learning, and I love how you say it, you're building up experiences. So we have everything you do tomorrow, you don't have a single test. We only learn actually in practical examples. So we've always the challenge-based learning format, so you're working always on challenges. And what we do is we actually give you feedback to certain competences, to your cognitive efficiency, which could be about critical thinking, which could be about, again, communicating, because sustainability is a complex topic, so it's about how to make this really clear and simple. And we help you really to grow in those fields and giving you feedback on that. So that's how we are trying, let's say this, really to help people to become competent and deal with this world we are living in today and have an impact.
Yeah.
To the question if there is an example for this mix of documentary and filmmaking. So I'm a filmmaker, and what I discovered is this series, The Bear. Do you know The Bear?
Yeah.
It's amazing. And
Like
it
the
is...
Like the animal?
Yes, like the animal. And it's, I think it's on Disney Plus. And it's kind of, it looks, when you start watching it, it looks like a documentary. But then you realize they are actors. And then I found out the actors are really learning the craft. So it's about a restaurant, and all the actors were learning how to cook. I mean, I'm not good in cooking, you know. So I watched it closely, but the amazing thing was, from the main actor, I learned how you communicate to team members, how you can win them over, even if they are against you. And he is so amazing. So that kept me in the whole series. At the beginning I thought, I cannot watch it, it's too fast and it's fast cutting, it's for the young people. But that made me curious, how does he do that? And you can really learn from that series. And then I applied it in my networking, and it just works. And you need to take the first season. At the end of the first season, you really get it. And then you start the next season, that's for sure.
My train ride tomorrow is safe. Thank you so much for the recommendation.
Any other questions? Yes.
Johanna and Christian, you are such huge personalities, and thank you so much for your contributions. But I would like actually to pick up on something that Thorsten was his name, I think, mentioned earlier, which is about money. Money makes the world go round, and we do not have to revolutionize our systems. If we achieve to have projects that are good for the planet, very broadly speaking, more profitable than those projects that are bad for the planet, or have proven to be bad for the planet, like fossil industries, possibly, then money will flow into those projects, even by people who do not care about sustainability, but only about profits. So if everyone here in the room urged their politicians they have been voting for to change the system, not to revolutionize it, but such that to incentivize those projects that are good for the planet, you will see this shift of the trillions that the Green Party has been talking about in the German Parliament last year, you know, and it's about money. If you can make money with it, you know, you're pushing money into the right projects, and we are all better off. So what is your view on this?
Thank you for bringing up this very important topic, because I put the end of capitalism quote in there for a reason, right? Actually, it already is happening. And it is more, I mean, not taking action will be more expensive than taking action, and it is already happening. So in our research, talking about the story of a new world here, in our research we were talking to a lot of future scientists, like scientists who kind of discover future trends and what's going to happen, what might not happen. And with a lot of those scientists we talked to, they said, you know, think for example, taking e-mobility and taking renewable energies. They both already crossed the tipping point. There's no, it's not getting back as much as Trump is trying to, right? There's not getting back because it is more affordable and it is just more reasonable, right? It makes sense, even in a very capitalistic world, it makes sense. It's not so much about the moral kind of, we do good for the world, blah, blah. It's really, it already is happening, as you put it, that it is more affordable to take action. And China is also leading the way in renewables, right? They understood what's going on in the world, and they are far, far in front of us. So, yeah, I think this is a very underestimated topic in politics, because sustainability is dealt with such as a political party topic, right? Like sustainability, oh, the Greens got 100 million. it's not the Greens, right? It's not a political issue, it's a societal issue. And if not all of the parties work for this, we will be in big trouble, and we won't be the rich Germany anymore. We're already not, like, we're already on the brink of falling apart, right? So this is like, we have to face it, and we also have to face it on a political level, this is my opinion. You're smiling, as you have something to say.
I love this conversation. I agree with the money, where money goes, there's the impact. I agree with the statement. And I think, nonetheless, where is the innovation happening? And the innovation is also happening where the interest goes. That's the reason why I think the more people care about sustainability topics, the more innovation is happening also in this area, the better the products will be, more or less. And they will be better than the competition. But we need to, it is about getting the interest to put the innovation minds, the entrepreneurs, also the policymakers, set that mind for that, to drive and use this as actually a force, But I fully am a big fan of systems. You need to understand the existing system, absolutely.
Great. I mean, we could continue talking for a long time, I think, but I'm mindful that you have to catch an early morning flight, and a couple of things. But he's offsetting, I know. So a couple of things. So we would like to get the conversation going. And often you end up talking to people that you already know. So after this, when we'll be able to listen to some more music from Kaso in a minute. But I'd like you in small groups of 4 to 5 people to discuss what generally inspires you and what may have inspired you tonight, and what you take away to take action. And so about 5 to 10 minutes, and then after that a new group with new people and the same discussion again. What inspires you to take action, and how are you going to take action afterwards? And what kind of stays with me after this discussion is really that social capital, i.e. the relationships that we form tonight and beyond are as important and long-lasting as other forms of capital. And it is the social connections that keep us going, even beyond times of crisis. So I'd like to leave it at that. Follow us on LinkedIn. Stay until late tonight. Have conversations. We'll have this space until about 11 o'clock. We'll listen to Kaso and a couple more songs. And thanks again for being here and for joining the discussion, interacting with us. And if somebody else would like to comment some.
So I have one thing that came into my mind, because we just had this discussion. I need a little longer.
Wait a second.
Okay. So I just needed a little longer to think about it. So when it comes about money, I was remembering my prior job. And actually we had like the investing companies in our blue chip company coming to us and discussing the strategy and everything. And of course there are the BlackRocks and Union Invest and all these people. And there is actually a possibility, if we think, I mean, probably some of you know the app Connie, where they are helping people who are renting to decrease their rent because it's not fair rent. So if I think that because of course they have a mass action. So these companies like BlackRock, or also you could have some Scandinavian investment fund, they come and they put a pressure onto the strategy of the company. But if you think that, I mean, of course they have more power in the shareholders meeting because they are focused. They come and they have a lot of power. But if you think there's 80% of shareholders who have like random shares, and if there would be a possibility to have this kind of swarm intelligence and say it's possible to bundle the voting power of like the simple shareholders onto climate important topics on sustainability, and to make it really easy in the shareholders meeting to vote and really implement it, this would be really a change on the agenda. So maybe this is something for the digital community.
Thank you for that comment. And Johanna will be here a few more minutes, if not hours. And
My train is at 9 tomorrow morning.
so you have a chance to ask more questions. But because this is a very dense topic, and not only hard disks overflow, but our minds as well, it helps to have some music to change kind of your rhythm and have other insights as well. So Kaso, if you could join us again.
Thank you.
Chance, noch was zu sagen, denn mir liegt was am Herzen schon seit Tagen, wenn du nicht mehr in mir bist, fühle ich mich leer. Das Leben ist kalt ohne dich und so schwer. Es tut mir doch leid, ich bin doch bereit, mich so zu ändern, dass nur für dich diese Sonne scheint. Ich tu, was du sagst, genauso wie du es magst. Leben fängt neu an diesem Tag. Es tut mir doch so leid, Girl, ich würde alles tun, dass du mir verzeihst. Girl, ich mach es wieder gut, es tut mir doch so leid. Komm wieder zurück zu mir, ich will bei dir sein. Nie wieder allein, es tut mir doch so leid. Ich hörte Stimmen, die sagten, nee, komm, lass sie gehen. Sie hat's nicht verdient und war auch unverschämt. Ich hab einen Fehler begangen, ich war ein anderer Mann. Ich schwör, ich würd es rückgängig machen, wenn ich kann. Es tut mir doch leid, ich bin doch bereit, mich so zu ändern, dass nur für dich diese Sonne scheint. Ich tu, was du sagst, genauso wie du es magst. Leben fängt neu an diesem Tag. Es tut mir doch so leid, Girl, ich würde alles tun, dass du mir verzeihst. Girl, ich mach es wieder gut, es tut mir doch so leid. Komm wieder zurück zu mir, ich will bei dir sein. Nie wieder allein, es tut mir doch so leid. Es tut mir doch so leid.